In 2009, little-known comedy known as Hangover came out and took the world by storm. Until 2011, they made a sequel and they decided to not change anything. Anything at all. And the movie sucks. Then the third one came out.
I've never seen any of them, so...
First one's worth watching. Then the third one came out and at that point it was a complete shitstorm. That was, you know, it was horrible. It was awful. There was just no saving it. And since the movie made no money at the box office, there was never gonna be a fourth one, thank God. So while the trilogy as a whole might suck, we can always say, well, at least we had the first one. And so we decided to actually do
Top
10 trilogies.
And this was kind of tough.
And it's really is hard to pick because there's a lot of trilogies, there's a lot of franchises that have trilogies in them. So here's some guidelines, I guess. If the
Rules that we'll stick to.
They will try to stick to. If this franchise has more than 3 movies, we don't consider it a trilogy. Even though it might have 3 very good movies and another one that sucked, it's still...
Indiana Jones.
We're still not considering a trilogy if he has more than
Indiana Jones.
3 movies in it. Up to the point where it comes to 6, then we can view things as 2 trilogies.
Star Wars.
Yeah, if the shoe fits.
Excellent.
So, what are the guidelines as far as the rating system goes? Well, here's the thing, we kind of look at all 3 movies and figure out from there. If you have 2 movies that are good, 1 movie that's bad, you know, it might make the list. It might make the list. If you have 3 average movies, it's probably not on the list. If you have 1 good movie and 2 average ones, you know, it kind of varies. It's our opinion, it's our point of view, if you would. So we're trying to... you're gonna be surprised by some. Some are probably gonna shock you. Might shock you.
Although if you've been watching us, if you've been watching our videos so far.
But here's the thing, just some movies, you know, there's a couple trilogies that have a movie that sucks on them, and it still made the top 10 because the other 2 redeemed it, if you would.
Kind of.
So we're looking at it as a whole. We're looking at all 3 movies. We're trying to not to go, you know, like
very deep
into it. This is very superficial.
Yeah, this is gonna.
This is at the end of at some point when you had to put in what you put in number 3, what you put in number 4. You're like, what am I gonna watch first?
What am I gonna?
If these are my options, watch this trilogy or this trilogy. Which one am I watching? That's how we base this whole system on.
Definitely.
Because it's really hard to pick 10 trilogies.
Except my number 10. I put it in there for the sole reason because it's a trilogy worth watching.
Or it was back in the 60s, but...
Still is.
Yeah, it's still good. And I guess, you know, my number 1 is a no-brainer. Your number 1 is obviously a no-brainer, at least to you, but, you know, our opinions vary on this. A lot. And not to mention his honorable mentions list is longer than his top 10 list. So.
Really?
That just goes to show you how hard this was.
Well, we always do have honorable mentions list. So
yeah, but 11 movies long.
Okay, I'm not gonna do all 11 movies. I'm just gonna do, I don't know, 3 or 4, 5 or 6.
1 little, 2 little, 3 little Indians. 4 little, 5 little, 6 little Indians.
Dude, I don't even.
7 little, 8 little, 9 little Indians. 10 little Indian boys.
Dude. So
just do yours because it's gonna take a while.
Well, all the movies on my honorable mentions list are on yours too, except for the 1 movie that is on my top 10 list. So we can skip your honorable mentions list, right? Like you can say, yeah, that's on my list too.
How about we do my list and we don't do your list at all?
Fine, I guess. We'll have to do a few of these though.
Alright, so my honorable mentions are the amazingly funny and majorly
movies. All three of them.
All three of them, even though the third one was a little bit of a downer from the first two,
Yeah, definitely.
it was still
It's still a fun movie
to watch. They brought most of the original cast that was still alive at the time.
Most of the cast from the second movie, that is.
Yeah, but
Because they switched it up.
the second one featured a bunch of guys from the first one. The third one, they just took it to minor league, but it was still fun to watch.
Definitely, definitely. And
It's still one of the funniest movies ever. If you really,
if you like baseball, you like all these movies.
Together with my next honorable mention, these are probably the two funniest trilogies.
I think.
I go that far to say these are probably two funniest trilogies.
Yeah. What's the second one? Oh, definitely.
You're talking about two funniest trilogies, and unfortunately, why are they my honorable mentions? Because none of them made the top 10 list. Why? Because it was really hard to pick somebody out of top 10 for these two. But the second one is Rush Hour.
And for us people who actually enjoy Rush Hour, we enjoy both Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker's movies. Not putting Rush Hour on the top 10 list really is like
a hard choice because we really liked it from the moment we watched the first one. It just grips you.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
This will never work. I'm not 6'4". The badge. The badge. There's a picture with Chris Tucker's face on it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't go, this will never work, I'm not black. He goes like, I'm not 6'4". Anyways.
Nobody reads those things anyway. You just flip them.
Flip them open, flip them closed. But it's still one of the funniest movies out there. Funniest trilogies. The second one emulated the first one. They did everything they did in the first one.
I would argue that second one is way better than the first one.
They took the first one, shipped it
just
to
like
Hong Kong.
I would for Major League. I would argue that the second Major League movie is better than the first one. But
I might, I might give you the Rush Hour, but I still like the.
Listen,
the marbles thing in the Major League, in the second Major League is.
And you can go. You can listen. The what's his name? The guy from Independence Day.
Will Smith?
No, the.
Jeff Goldblum?
No, the Randy. What's his last name? Randy.
No, I'm interested.
Randy Quaid. I mean, his character is so good, and he's. I mean,
and let's not forget Charlie Sheen.
Listen, it's because of who Charlie Sheen is that we get an awesome Randy Quaid in the second movie, okay?
Randy Quaid's role in the second movie is solely to make fun of Charlie Sheen. I'm not even sure that guy was scripted.
Dude, I don't know.
I'm not sure if that guy. I'm not sure that guy was scripted. I'm pretty sure the director just brought him in, and he told him just scream profanities as Charlie Sheen's character wherever you can.
You suck! He's back!
And it's one of the funniest plot lines. It's one of the funniest plot lines of the whole Major League 2. And every plot line in Major League 2 is funny.
Dude.
And when Charlie Sheen...
no marbles!
When Charlie Sheen cuts his hair and comes back, Randy's reaction to it just... Yeah, you know what? You sold me. Major League 2 is better than Major League 1.
Listen, Wesley Snipes may have been replaced with...
the other speedy black guy,
Omar, what's his name?
Epstein. No,
it's somebody else.
Yeah.
But, listen...
But movie as
to
a whole work.
I mean, yeah, it is a I don't know, a grade down, so to speak, because Wesley Snipes is Wesley Snipes.
Oh yeah.
But
you brought majority of the characters back. The story is even funnier than it was the first time around. And we played
a bunch of new stuff too, and the whole arc with Chicago White Sox, no, Red Sox. Sorry, Boston.
And then to do the third one, it's like, how can you do the third one? And you just shit because they're too old. By that time they're old, so you're not playing in the majors anymore. But nobody says you're not playing in the minors. And it's still funny.
And they kind of flip back to the Rush Hour. They flip the script with the second movie as they go out of LA, they go straight to Hong Kong.
First one, Hong Kong Cubs come to LA. Now LA Cubs goes to Hong Kong. And then the third one with the whole Paris thing might have been
Listen,
A downer from the first two?
definitely a little bit, but I think it's still funny. It's still like there's funny scene, like there's.
Who are you?
I asked you first.
No. Who are you?
No.
I
What do you
know.
mean? Who am I? Who are you?
Who are you? I asked you.
I'm not you. He is you. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about you.
That's you.
I'm me. He's you. Are you blind? No, I'm deaf. No, he's blind. I'm deaf. I don't know.
Still
It's a great
funny
scene. Still a great scene.
There's still stuff in the third one, and the whole thing where I'm not gonna work with you anymore.
And there was that one point in the beginning of the movie with Serbian subtitles that was just so epic that.
Oh yeah. But you wouldn't get that.
Yeah.
But so third ones in both these franchises, third one were a little bit downers compared to the first two, but the overall, the first two were so good that no matter that even if the third one sucked, which they didn't, the movie would still be.
It wasn't as good as the first two, but it was still good. It wasn't
It
bad.
was good enough. It was average, I guess, but
A
the
little bit
first
above
two,
average, I think.
first two brought the whole level up so much that it really didn't matter.
Definitely, definitely. And real quick with your honorable mentions list, because the
The third one on my list is
on
actually
my-
on his list.
So we'll talk about it later. You can mention it later. But let me just add just a few of my honorable mentions. First one,
I'm gonna go take a nap real quick. Just wake me up when you're over.
dude, Cannonball Run is one of those movies that I don't know how you discovered them, but when we got to see them,
I am that good.
you are that good, man.
I am that good.
It was this hidden gem from the 70s with a great theme song that basically we grew up on Wacky Race's cartoon.
So to see
Needless to say,
Cannonball Run,
there was a
and I didn't watch the third one, the John Candy one. He did, hence it's on his honorable mention
Mentions
list. But I think we can put it with Major League and Rush Hour as being the funniest on the list.
Definitely.
The Doctor in the
And
first one.
Speaking of Rush Hour, Jackie Chan, this was his first appearance in Hollywood movies, in the first two Cannonball Run movies, and it was he had a great part in those movies too. This is, we talked about...
While we were on Cannonball Run, Roger Moore passed away
Yeah,
a while back.
about a month ago,
Yeah, because this is pre-recorded.
we're recording this.
And Roger Moore had a role to play in Cannonball Run.
Definitely, he played James Bond,
He played James Bond in Cannonball Run.
and he
I
drove
think
an
he was-
Aston Martin, and he had
And
a
he had
Bond
this-
girl.
Yeah. And the sea went whoop.
Yep,
And he smoked a cigar.
and yeah,
And he had, he drove a
he-
bone
he
car,
drove-
had the bone.
he
bone
drank
girl,
scotch
and-
too, so you're shaking, not
Martini.
stirred. Yeah,
And so,
you know, me and James Bond,
he doesn't like James Bond for some
I don't
reason.
care. But Roger Moore is my favorite of the James Bonds, even though Pierce Brosnan is the one we grew up on,
yeah.
because like we grew up in the 90s, it was James Bond in the 90s, but
Sean Connery.
nothing against Sean Connery, man. Nothing. Like, anyways,
So, do you
Cannonball...
want to move on with your list?
Yes, Cannonball Run. If you never saw it, we talked about Need for
Listen,
Speed.
it's-
We talked about Need for Speed in the top 5 video game reviews.
Listen, watch
It's
Cannonball
fun.
Run.
Burt Reynolds
Watch
and a
the
whole
first
bunch
one.
of other.
Watch
Like,
the
he has
first. If
amazing
you're not
cast.
sold on it, watch the first one, and he's gonna sell you on the rest of them. It's
Definitely.
that good.
Next one, I can't go and not mention Triple X Trilogy, simply because Vin Diesel started the craze and Ice Cube continued it, and Vin Diesel brought it back. Hopefully this turns
We
into
get
a
more. There's talks of more.
Yeah.
Movie made the money at the box office, though we might get the fourth one.
And speaking of the Dark Knight Trilogy and Liam Neeson, we cannot and not mention Taken Trilogy. Yeah. Taken. I mean, seriously, like, so who would have thought that we would get 3 of these movies? So
At age of 50, 60, whatever he is, Liam Neeson reinvents
himself as an actor.
not just himself, but we get a new take on the action genre that has been lacking since the 90s.
Definitely.
And all of a sudden it's coming back, and the guy who's leading the charge is
It's
Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
In his 60s.
Which brings me to my next honorable mention with The Expendables. I know most people don't like these movies, especially the second and third one, or first and third one, depending on who you ask. I like all 3 of these movies.
I think they went a little bit overboard with the third one.
Definitely.
They try to put too many people in it.
Yeah, Listen.
And I think that cost him in the end, but overall, I like the premise of bringing all of a sudden, because you didn't see Arnie in the movies because he was the governor for a while, and Stallone was taking a backseat, and you know Bruce Willis was doing Die Hard 17 in 3D, and all of a sudden stuff
in space.
and stuff didn't make sense. Okay, like I'm a Die Hard fan. I love all of them, and I hope Bruce does. And I don't care that he's phoning in his performance and just collecting the check at this point. I'm just like, give me more Die Hard movies. I love Bruce Willis.
So yeah,
That's my
speaking of the Expendables, they're so
but
fun,
the first
very
one,
well
first one was
made.
basically you had a couple of names and explosions, and that's what sold you on them, because this was like, we're getting these guys back.
From
These
the 80s
guys
and 90s.
haven't been
in
active.
their 50s and 60s and even 70s, and they're still making action movies.
And you bring Jason Statham into it, you bring Terry Crews into it, and all of a sudden you bring Dolph
Lundgren.
and stuff makes sense. The movies, you know, I mean, what's he doing?
He's singing the pirate.
What are you doing?
I'm making a pirate.
What's he doing?
He's making a bomb.
What are you doing?
I'm making a bomb.
It's epic. You can't not. I understand people don't like these movies, but how can you not like these
and
movies?
all Arnie's, like, I'll be back, and
and Bruce Willis and all
the
this
interaction in the second movie, and taking each
Yippee-ki-
other's movie
you know, yeah,
close,
it's like,
yippee-ki-yay, and
I'll be back. You know, it's like, no, that's Arnie's.
my shoe's bigger than this car.
And I actually opened the smart. I drove in the smart. I almost ripped the doors out. And I'm not.
She's 2 meters tall. So.
And I'm nowhere near Arnie, man. I don't even think that was like loose hinges. I think they just pull it off, because if I can do it, Arnie can definitely do it.
Definitely.
And they're fun movies. Like I said, the third one, a little bit down just because they try to bring all these new kids into it, and it kind of took something away from the movie. But you know, at the same time, they brought Antonio Banderas, gave him a ton of screen time, made his character really funny.
They got Chuck Norris in the second movie.
They blew.
He had that one scene, but it was so funny and amazing, and they played on the whole Chuck Norris facts thing. Where's my book, man? Where's my book?
And the third one, we saw them bust. Yeah, he sleeps with the thing.
Yeah, man.
And the third one, we saw them bust.
I read one Chuck Norris fact every night before I go to sleep.
We saw him bust Wesley Snipes out of prison, which was at the time Wesley Snipes just came out of prison. But to see them, and then to see the whole Wesley Snipes and Jason Statham played off of each other's knife throwing skills, that was fun. So
and
third one still.
Let's not forget, we cannot forget, like, Eric Roberts in the first movie as a villain was his tops. I mean, he was himself, like, what he usually does.
Plays the same kind of roles.
And he did a great job. Even though his villain was weaker than Jean-Claude Van Damme and Mel Gibson.
Yeah, we saw Mel Gibson as a villain.
Dude, Mel Gibson, and then, like, think of him what you want. We already talked about Mel Gibson in some other review or something.
When we talked about
Disney movies.
No, we talked about the Heartbreak Ridge. Hacksaw Ridge.
Hacksaw Ridge, yeah. But think what you want of Mel Gibson, but his villain in the third Expendables movie is an amazing actor.
Hollywood doesn't love him, but he's still a great actor. So Expendables is on there, even though, like I said, think what you will, we like all three movies.
Yeah, I found it really cool fact that I could translate easily, man.
And we'll be back in half an hour once he finds this fact he's talking about.
Let's talk about one of those trilogies that didn't make it on our list simply because the second and third movie are kind of forgettable. And it was back in the 80s. But to me, RoboCop is one of the best characters ever made on TV screen. Even though they rebooted the character.
I buy that for $1.
Yes, thank you. See that, like, dude, that first RoboCop.
Here's the thing: I don't remember the second one. I don't remember the third one at all.
The third one,
I know.
The third one was an all-out war on the streets of Detroit, and RoboCop could fly, man. That's the only thing I remember from those movies.
But the first one is still like
they still hold up, man.
They still hold up,
and they have a great score, man, which they actually used in the remake for Lawrence Fishburne. There I go. Samuel L. Jackson's TV intros. Hopefully Lawrence Fishburne doesn't see this, otherwise I'm getting a really nasty message from him.
But the thing is, well, you know that there's no such thing as bad publicity. If Lawrence Fishburne takes time to actually write a comment, I consider that a good thing, no matter what he says.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, I don't know. I remember the first one.
I found it. If you see Chuck Norris crying, he will make your wish come true. If your wish is to die.
Yes, folks, you heard it here first.
And
He
that's
actually
in Serbian,
reads
man.
this before he goes to sleep.
Hey, dude, Chuck Norris counted to infinity twice. Yeah.
Moving on, you want to do something else from your honorable mention list? Or
Kung
you
Fu
wanna...
Panda, man. I mean, we talked about this on our top 10 DreamWorks animation movies.
Kung Fu Panda is one of those whose
Third movie.
sequels are better than the original, or in this case, sequel. DreamWorks does a fantastic job with sequels.
Yeah.
Let it just be said. So
I had to put it on the
third one wasn't
as good as the first two.
Yeah, but it still holds up. It's still better. You can still watch it. You can still let your kids watch it. It's still funny. It's full of bull stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. So that
he just knocked it off the list like before we started doing this.
Yeah.
That's how highly he thinks of it. That's how highly I guess we think of it. He wouldn't crap my top 10, but you know.
Hey, speaking of Kung Fu Panda, because they're similar to bears and
I
Kui.
apologize. I really apologize.
Chuck Norris
I
does
shall
not
burn
eat
this book.
honey.
I shall.
He chews bees. Okay, enough of that. Let's get serious.
Just to be on the safe side. No more Chuck Norris facts. I do apologize. You want to move on with the list, or you have some more?
I'm gonna do mine
mentions
first.
you wanna mention?
We're gonna go.
So we
10
go
to
10 to 6.
Yeah, 10 to 6.
5 to 3, and then 2 to 1.
Okay, I'll start first simply because this one isn't on your honorable mentions or your list. Shame on you for doing that, because classic cinema deserves to be heard. The Man with No Name trilogy is one of the best trilogies ever made. Should be higher on anybody's list, but listen, they're spaghetti westerns. They drag on. They're over hour and a half long, and so if you like, I don't suggest doing this as a marathon, but you should definitely mentally.
You should at one point. You should watch this. If you marathon it, you're gonna go insane.
Definitely, listen,
because not only are they long, they're dragged on, but that in no way takes away from how good they are.
Yeah.
Which is why it's on his list.
Leone did such a great job on them, and Ennio Morricone did such a great job.
And you're talking about something that was done
soundtrack.
in the 60s, and they can still
Listen,
watch today.
it's in case you don't know what Man with No Name is, it's a fistful of dollars for a few dollars more, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly with Clint Eastwood. His opponent.
And you can't go wrong with Clint Eastwood.
This is the Clint Eastwood that everybody thinks of or about. When you think of Clint Eastwood, these are the images, the scenes that come to mind first. At least here they do. And Ennio Morricone doing, to me, Ennio Morricone's scores can rival John Williams or Hans Zimmer or anybody.
You're talking about great overall movies.
And he finally got recognized with his score for The Hateful Eight, another Tarantino movie which was set in the West, kind of inspired by these movies themselves, actually, because as Quentin Tarantino once said, I steal from other movies. So yeah, there you have it. The Man with No Name. I don't know, I know The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly comes last. I'm not sure if Fistful of Dollars or For a Few Dollars More is first, but anyways, check it out, check all three of them out. Seriously, don't watch them one after the other, because your mind will fry. So
yeah, but they definitely should be watched.
Definitely. Coming in at number 9 is Men in Black. To me, these are fun movies. They're set in our world with aliens. We get Will Smith in his prime pretty much. And even though second and third movie may not be as good as the first, or even because they copy like the formula from the first movie, they don't always hold up to the first like they're supposed to, and most people hate on them for, I don't know, because
First one was fun.
there
Definitely fun.
second was
Second was
funnier in some aspects to me. I would argue it
Definitely.
was even funnier than
And then the
first one.
third one kind of just
They
re-engineered the whole thing because they didn't follow the formula
they
that
went
they did in
crazy.
the first
They
one and
went
the
crazy
second
on
one.
the third one.
They're like, okay, let's switch stuff up. Let's bring time travel into this whole thing. And it worked.
And it's really cool how they do it. And we get Josh Brolin as young Agent K.
Yeah,
So
and he does a fantastic Tommy Lee Jones.
definitely.
Like if
definitely.
you're gonna pick a guy to play young Tommy Lee Jones, Josh Brolin was your guy.
Although
and
now
he
you'll have
fits-
to find someone else to play young Josh Brolin.
Yeah, but the thing is, man, this worked. Like the whole movie, yes, he may not have been as good as the first one or the second one, but
Yeah.
overall, listen, the first one was so good that, you know, like we said, we're talking trilogies here. Not every movie in the trilogy might be equally good, but when you have an above average one, even you have one that wasn't that good, this trilogy can still be good. Trilogy can still work. And this one does.
Yeah, definitely.
It didn't make it on my list, but, you know, it almost did.
Yeah. Coming in at number 8. It's higher on your list. I'm just gonna mention it because
Eight.
to me,
You see, this is what happens when you read Chuck Norris facts before you go to sleep. You go woozy in your head.
listen, Lord of the Rings,
8?
it just, I would much...
You know, I'll get you back with my 9. I'll get you back with my 9, man. That's all I'm gonna say. We're gonna talk about Lord of the Rings one day.
later, but anyway,
Once
but to
we
me
make
it's
it
so
to my
high on
list.
this list simply because they're so long, and I'm talking about extended versions, okay?
Of course,
If you're not watching these as extended versions, you're doing yourself a disfavor because
you're doing stuff wrong.
definitely.
Because you're missing like 4 hours of footage. Well, no, 3.5.
But still, it's,
You're looking at 12 hours
You're
of
looking-
footage through
you-
3 movies.
you're looking at a whole day worth of movie marathon.
If you want to
And to me, that's why it's so high on the list.
If you want to do something epic, watch Lord of the Rings. It's that good. You want action, he has action. You want story, yes, he has everything you want in a movie.
Definitely. But to me, simply
But we're gonna
because-
talk about it when we.
But it's
make
on,
it tomorrow.
so high on my list because it takes a whole day to watch the whole thing.
So high. It's number 8.
Yeah. It is much higher on your list.
Well, you know, Delta Force is starting Chuck Norris is kind of higher on his list.
Well, it
Even
wasn't
though
a
it's a
trilogy.
trilogy, he still considers it like that's how much he loves Chuck Norris. He just invented the third one for him, so he can put it on the list.
Dude, come on, man. We're gonna talk about my number 7 and 6. I don't know, later, because
Just,
my number 7
because
is your
my-
number 7, and this is, of course, purely by. This wasn't
Chance.
planned. This wasn't planned. We
And
never planned this.
your number 6 is my number 10,
Yeah, I don't know why. And then, yeah,
because my number 6 is so much better than your number 6,
not really, man.
despite the first one.
We can talk about it later.
Just name them and we'll talk about them later.
When we get to your coming in number 7, Ip Man, with Donnie Yen about Bruce.
Yip. It's actually Yip.
Actually, when it's pronounced in Chinese, it's just Yip. So, yeah, it may be spelled as Yip.
Okay, number 6.
And number 6, X-Men First Class. So it's X-Men First Class with the Days of Future Past and
And
X-Men Apocalypse.
And unfortunately, that movie, that trilogy, as much as I love X-Men, only made it to number 10 on my list. Overall, I liked it. I liked it better than the original X-Men. But there was some stuff. I mean, here, you know, what do I knock down?
That's
And I almost knocked down my number 9.
you could have gone with your number 8 and put it at number 10.
I like my number 8.
All 3 of them? That's
All 3 of them.
better than X-Men?
It's a tough choice. If you ask me if do I watch my number 8 or do I watch X-Men, it's a tough choice. But I just might go with my. It depends on what kind
You're
of
an
mood I am.
X-Men guy, man.
That's why this is so hard. But I got another X-Men thing upper on my list. I'm sorry.
And then you come and tell me about my Chuck Norris facts, man. Whatever. You're still my bro. Go with your number 9, please.
Number 9.
Are we gonna talk about these movies at all? X-Men First Class?
What's there to talk about? Why aren't you watching these movies? What's wrong with you?
What are you
Something wrong with you?
Listen,
X-Men, listen.
Bryan Singer comes back to the X-Men universe.
After the debacle that was the X-Men 3.
It's not. It's Matthew Vaughn comes with X-Men First Class. Somebody's needed to pick up after the
debacle of the X3.
Yeah.
A movie Bryan Singer did not work on.
Nope. It was not Brad Bird. It was.
I can't remember, and it doesn't
I'll
really
remember
matter.
it later.
But Matthew Vaughn comes, gives us a new take, gives us the early look at the X-Men
and what
how they formed,
how they started out, the friendship
originalish members, if you would. But
and how
he focuses a lot on the friendship
of Magneto
between
and Charles Xavier.
Eric and Charles.
Yeah, and that was
and that takes focal point in the movie. Their relationships.
And the other movies too. When we get to the Days of Future Past, we see that friendship not just playing a major role.
And we see how it plays even later on with Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart.
And seeing Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart and Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy in the same movie, and then actually seeing James McAvoy and Patrick Stewart talking to each other across the timeline, talking to it through time.
When they released the trailer for the Days of Future Past, that was the movie that gave me goosebumps.
Dude,
even today,
I'm getting goosebumps right now.
Even today, that is, no matter how much I love Days of Future Past, and I really, really do, and I actually think it's the best movie in the trilogy. The Charles talking to Charles thing is still the moment of that movie.
I mean, could you imagine, like, talking to yourself through timeline in the future?
Well,
or
if you're a telepath, it might work, but you know.
Or you could run through time. But let's.
But the thing is, the first one featured Kevin Bacon as the villain.
Yes, what's his name? I forget. But whatever.
Me too.
And we get Emma Frost in this movie.
We get Emma Frost. We get to see the Cuban crisis, if you would.
Yeah.
And how mutants resolve the whole thing.
And Mystique also plays a big role. We see how she and Charles got acquainted and became friends and later on parted ways and whatnot.
And we saw how Charles and Eric assembled the first X-Men team, if you would. And the whole thing just kind of... Then we get the Days of Future Past because why not make it better?
Did one thing that no other movie ever did, and that is they raised the timeline. Well, sort of. They basically restart like everything that happened up until that point in the X-Men universe. I actually got changed, erased. Their whole history and futures changed because of it too. So everything we saw in the Wolverine movies, everything we saw in the first 3 X-Men movies, it all basically never happened. So it gave them the clean slate to move from that point on and do whatever they want to. So,
and Bryan Singer came back
in Days of Future Past, for Days of Future Past, and for the X-Men Apocalypse.
Heck of a job, and you know, now we're getting more X-Men movies.
We get a TV show done by him too. So
you know, and my take on this is, I think we mentioned it at one point, is like in our Apocalypse review or something. I said, just give the whole thing to Bryan Singer because he's been doing a heck of a job.
Yeah, that was on the previous channel. I'll try and look up the link and put in the description, but no promises.
Just give it to Bryan, because he figured out what needs to be done with the X-Men, and he's been doing it. With the Days of Future Past, with Apocalypse went above and beyond, man.
It's
so
an underappreciated movie, definitely. People,
other than the Quicksilver scene, but you know,
people look down on that scene too in the Apocalypse.
But the thing is, man, the whole movie.
Let's not forget the Quicksilver scenes in Days of Future Past and in X-Men Apocalypse. So, which took days to do, like just doing that one scene.
Bryan said, I can't remember what the guy's name is that he does Quicksilver.
I forgot. Man.
But he spent the most time on set because it took him like 3 months to shoot the scene.
It's that weird situation when both guys playing Quicksilver in the Marvel's Avengers and in X-Men universe are in Matthew Vaughn's movie Kick-Ass playing comic book lovers. Like
Yeah.
guys who read comics and are best friends, and then later on they meet up again.
They
With,
both becomes Quicksilver
Silver.
and one of them dies. Spoiler for the Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
But this movie stack up. It's one of the, you know, it's number 10 for me. It's Lord.
oh gosh, just ignore it, man. A little bit hopeful.
So, yeah, we're shutting down our phones.
Anyway, this took long. Sorry for that. This took.
But the thing is, the movies are good. Number 10 on mine, they're number 6 on yours, but they could have easily gone higher just because some of the movies that are above them are really that good.
Definitely.
And when you make, and there's a lot of trilogies, so, and you can't,
It's hard.
it's really hard to make a list of top 10 trilogies, but you know, I want to put an X-Men on it, and it was so hard for me to do it at number 10.
Let's move on
But,
from this
number
debacle
9
to another debacle.
Number 9 for me is the Back to the Future.
Yeah.
It's much higher on his list, so we're gonna talk about it when we get there. Number 8 for me is the
Chronicles
of Riddick. Pitch Black came out, and it was the dark horror
It
thriller
put Vin
version.
Diesel on the scene, pretty much. Like this came, I don't know if this came before or after Fast and the Furious, but
No, this was before. I
before.
think. This was before. Up to this point, he did some stuff, but this one was the first one where
He
he
did
carried
Saving
the
Private
story.
Ryan and had that one
Yeah,
thing
but he
where
died there.
Spielberg
But-
saw him, but whatever.
But this was the first movie that he headlined. It was dark. It was horror thrillery, I guess.
Horror
They
sci-fi
did the
thriller.
second one, Chronicles of Riddick,
To me, which is even
and
better
they
than
made
the
it a
first
lot
one.
more PG-13ish, I guess. I think it was even PG-13.
I think
But
Probably.
the movie work, it was a lot nicer done. The story was a lot better. It wasn't just
we
a
got
bunch
a
of
glimpse
guys
into
on a
this.
planet.
Yeah,
We got to
we got to see this universe. Like he plays this
We got to
alien
see the
species that can see in the dark, and he's the
They
last
can't
survivor.
see in the dark, but he does something to his eyes. That he's the only one that can do it. But anyways, we get a. It's tied into the universe basically. He, at the end of it, he becomes the ruler of
of
this
the entire
whole
universe.
species, who's trying to conquer the universe. And then the third movie, we saw it go back to the first one, to the darker tone, and it really brought the whole franchise together. As much as I actually like the second one, the Chronicles of Riddick, third one and first, I'm liking the first and third one more and more.
Listen, what they did with third one is because not only because it got shot so many years after the second one, but what they did with the story of the character of Riddick, like he was like high up top, and they decided to go get it back to its roots, to pitch black, but they needed a way to do it. And so what they decided to do is like, let's take King
family.
Well,
No, his race. He is the lone survivor of his race, as far as he
he got
knows.
tricked
they
because
used
he
to-
got lazy. I mean, he got lazy. He was.
Yeah, he says so in the movie. So,
So yeah, and it's cool just hearing him, Vin Diesel narrate the movie too. Was also
has one
pretty
of those
cool. That was
voices.
one of my favorite parts of the movie. So yeah,
So coming in at number
seven.
7 is Ip Man.
Ip Man. Yep. For both of us, in number 7. So
You're talking about a martial art. You're talking about a guy who, during the Japanese invasion of China,
in the 30s,
starts teaching people Wing Chun.
Wing Chun.
Wing Chun is the name of the martial arts technique.
It's basically
It's a
class of
defensive. It's a defensive technique. It's used in close combat for defense. The legend says that it was actually back in 1800 something. There was a Shaolin monk who actually combined the. He saw a crane and a snake and a crane fight, and he used those techniques that he saw there to incorporate them. He taught it to. He wasn't a young empress, but he was a princess of some sort whose name was Wang Chun, and the technique was later on named after her. But that's the legend. And Bruce Lee was actually one of the last people who got to learn from Ip Man.
And
But it's very nice done movie.
listen, the story, the first movie talks about invasion of China by Japan, right? And they come into his village, they invade his home, they throw him out. He's basically homeless with wife and son. And
So he starts teaching martial arts.
not immediately, not in the first movie. He starts doing that much later on because he was very reluctant to even do that. But
And I have to say,
in the
just for the record, I did not watch the third one yet. There are 3 movies, but the first 2 left such a
I'm not
impression
gonna
on me.
spoil it that much then.
Such
But
an impression on me that
you
I
could
know there's
watch
a
the
boxing
third one.
thing. I didn't get a chance to. I didn't have anywhere to watch it, so I didn't watch it. But after the first 2, the third one, it can be absolute BS of a movie, and I still wouldn't change my opinion. It would still be number 7.
Yeah. Okay.
And even though I'm fully aware it's probably not BS, it's probably
No,
as
it's
good
not.
as the first 2, just
It's-
because there's a standard to these movies, and there's even another couple of movies that came from these. So
Yeah. And just his struggle, like to feed his wife and kids, and even like alleviate everybody's pain in his village. Like he wants to help them, but he's kind of reluctant to do it. And this is based on real events, but there's fantasy elements in these movies. I don't know how much is true, how much isn't.
not fantasy exactly, more like fiction.
Yeah, fiction. And
You
so
don't see mages
it's very
and
hard. Like
dragons.
supposedly he really did fight the Japanese general who was overruling over his city, basically, because it's a much bigger city than ours. They said it was like populated with 300,000 people, and they had these big martial arts schools, and people came from all over China to participate in tournaments. And just seeing that, I mean, it's really nicely done. It was set in that time. The visual effects are amazing. The martial arts, like you can, like the way they record martial arts.
Donnie Yen is the leading character, and he's
Actor, yeah.
yeah, and he's fabulous in it. He's mostly doing Chinese stuff, but now he did Rogue One, he did Triple X. So now the Hollywood, and he did Blade 2 or 3, I can't even remember.
I forgot.
But he was there, and people are gonna get to know Donnie a whole lot better. But he has a whole spectrum of Chinese movies that he does, and everything is most of them are martial arts based.
And these martial arts movies.
And I think he is actually a martial artist. So.
Yeah, he is. But the way the Ip Man is recorded, sometimes these movies fail for some reason, but when it comes to Ip Man, you can see all their actions are really well recorded, so you can follow the movie, even the battle scenes.
And
which are
they're
pretty
actually,
good,
I
are
think
easy
you're
to
actually
follow.
looking at trained people who know what they're doing, who
Yeah.
do martial arts in everyday lives, and it makes everything that much more fluid, if you want to say it like that. And if you haven't, listen, it's in Chinese.
You'll need subtitles.
You'll need
Unless you can
subtitles.
read Chinese character.
But
No, I mean unless you can
speak Chinese.
Chinese. Which
But,
was even like, I'm
these
learning
movies
Chinese,
are-
so for me it was hard to follow some of it too. Like most of it actually, so.
But these movies are worth watching.
Because my Chinese is very basic anyway, so.
You really, like, if you didn't hear about them, put them on your wish list, give them a watch. They really are that good.
Definitely.
My number 6
Yeah.
is the Wolverine. After the debacle of the first one,
Listen, there was good stuff in X-Men Origins Wolverine. There was some really
listen,
good stuff.
I'm the guy that says that movie rocks. I love that movie. Gambit was in it. Yeah, people don't like what they did.
Taylor Kitsch was pretty good as Gambit in my opinion, so.
And after all the stuff that they did with Deadpool, nobody likes the movie anymore. Listen, I like that movie. I know people don't, but I do. Because it was the first time we actually saw Wolverine be Wolverine other than X3. At this point, it was like, let's give the man his own movie.
And just seeing Sabretooth and their rivalry to, and Leah
even
Schreiber
friendship,
doing,
yeah.
I mean, seriously, like, how
The
much
whole
better
movie,
could you,
I liked it. And
what more could you ask of a villain? And seeing their origin story, which is like, they grew up as brothers, like, I mean, come on, we didn't see that before in the movie.
Canadian tuxedo and whatnot.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
No.
I still like the first movie, but it really messed up because of the bad publicity it got afterwards. He
And
messed
because
up,
of the stuff they did with Deadpool.
He messed up a lot of stuff with Fox as far as their plans were, because there was supposed to be a Magneto origin story. There was supposed to be a couple of origin story, but because of bad publicity, never got there.
And we only got 3 Wolverine movies.
But thankfully, we actually got the second Wolverine movie. The Wolverine. They kind of redeemed the whole situation for people who thought the situation needed redeeming.
Yeah.
And everything was capped off this year.
Even though there was still sour faces after that movie for some reason.
Definitely. And everything was capped off nicely this year with the release of Logan.
Yeah.
Which also marked the last time we actually get to see Hugh Jackman play the role.
Or so he said.
So he said that we're still optimistic about that one. We really do hope he doesn't hang his claws anytime soon.
Yeah.
But through it all, we actually saw Hugh Jackman evolve, not just as become Wolverine, but actually become a better actor.
Yeah, he did a lot of other stuff between these movies as well, so
his star kind of got on the rise because of the role, but he embodied the role so nicely in all these 3 movies. It's all of a sudden he became hard to see.
He
Wolverine
gave us
without
17 years of Wolverine.
That is a lot of years.
And just from the initial backlash from the fans when he was announced to be playing Wolverine, like he was the 5th choice.
And not to mention, he didn't know who Wolverine was when he auditioned.
He was unknown himself. Like the only reason he got the role is because Russell Crowe passed on it and suggested Hugh Jackman as his replacement. So, yeah.
While it might have been fun to see Russell Crowe, we wouldn't have had 17.
I think Gerard Butler was in the talks as well. There was. I don't know who else.
There were some big names at the time.
Back in the 90s, when they wanted to do it, they actually wanted Danny DeVito to be Wolverine. So, because
he was short.
Yeah, and Wolverine is short, and it only made sense.
But he wasn't fat, but you know.
I would still
it would be funny to see Danny DeVito as Wolverine.
Pay money to see that.
But Wolverine works. Like if
anybody out there on the interwebs can make, I don't know, like a fan-made Wolverine animation with Danny DeVito as Wolverine,
that'd be fun.
Let us know, man.
But for all those reasons, Wolverine is number 6. I really wanted to, because other than Batman, Wolverine is my favorite comic book character ever.
Yep.
So I really wanted to put it higher on my list. I probably could switch my 5 and 6, but that's probably as far as I would go. Put it at 5. Not just, if the first movie was any better or critically acclaimed, I guess, might have made a difference. I still love it, I know people don't, but yeah. Number 6.
Yeah. Coming in number 5. You want to go first, or how shall we do this?
Just do your 5, 4, 3, and then talk about your 5.
Okay. So my number 5 is on your honorable mentions list, and it's Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. Listen, when this movie came out, it came pretty much out of the blue, completely unexpected, and took us over. Like that first Spider-Man movie, Tobey Maguire doing Peter Parker and to me, he is the best Spider-Man to this date. Until we see Homecoming, he's
well, it's either him or Garfield, and he was better than Garfield. But although I like Garfield, but
Garfield's Spider-Man was a better Spider-Man, but his Peter Parker wasn't as good as Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker. So
no.
Anyways,
and we can actually say that the second Spider-Man movie is probably one of the best all-time comic book movies.
Definitely. Listen, I rewatched the third one recently, and I remember we saw that one in the theaters, right?
We laughed the butts off, most of us anyway.
Dude, I loved that movie when it first came out. I thought it was pretty good.
So did I. Generally, it's a good movie, but then, it had some shortcomings.
Yes, but I didn't really think about them until much later. And recently, watching this movie, I realized, yes, it definitely has some flaws. And I'm not just talking about the dance scene on the street, okay? That one was so awkward even in the cinema when we were watching it.
Oh, definitely.
that was a weird scene to look at. So I don't know, but definitely movie has flaws. It didn't age well, unlike the first two did. Like the first two still hold up.
No, first two I can watch them.
First two still hold up.
The scene go like you want to watch Spider-Man 1 and 2, I'll be like, okay, you'll be watch 3. I'm like, you know, not.
The visual effects in the third one just don't hold up. They didn't age well, unfortunately. And
while the first one and the second one did.
Yes.
So you're looking at a classic case of first two are good, third one
Yes.
kind of went down. But the first two are really that good. And third one really isn't that bad.
And let's not, I mean, you cannot talk about a superhero movie and not talk about the score by Danny Elfman for this movie, which is pretty epic in its own right. Definitely up there with the other great ones. So, yeah. Sam
Kristen
Raimi's-
does.
Okay, I was, like, to me, she was always kind of awkward for my... Like, she's a pretty girl.
I can see it. I can see
But
it.
to me, she was always kind of too awkward, so...
I can see it.
But yeah, they could have definitely gotten someone else to play MJ, Mary Jane Watson, but whatever, you know. We got what we got, and I think it was pretty good, like... And even James Franco as little Mr. Harry Osborn, yeah. And just the, like, that was the, and listen, the thing that most people hated about the third movie is also like Green Goblin and Spider-Man teaming up. To me, that was the most fun part because of what happened in the first
and
movie.
with the
Because of what happened in the first
Sandman
movie.
was a great villain.
Definitely.
And even Eddie Brock wasn't all that bad.
You cannot talk about Topher Grace and think that he was bad Eddie Brock. I think he was pretty good. I think even at the time when we were watching it in cinema, visual effects on Venom were pretty solid, okay?
Listen, stuff about villains, I always got into the movie. I liked the villain. The Sandman was a good villain.
No, it's definitely
Eddie Brock could
cheesy,
have done
so-
better. Okay, it's cheesy, but even now I still like it. And the superhero fight at the end was
To me,
fun.
it's still watchable, unlike some other movies that are completely unwatchable. So, yeah, to me, I can still watch Spider-Man 3 and have fun, and even enjoy the last epic fight scene with Spider-Man and Green Goblin teaming up against Sandman and Venom. So, yeah.
Especially with Green Goblin being on the surfboard.
Yeah. Great callback. So, that's my number 5.
Do your 4 and 3, just name them.
My number 4 is the Dark Knight trilogy. I think this one could have been higher, but it is definitely on yours, so we're going to talk about it later. My number 3 is your number 4, so Toy Story.
My number 5 is Hobbit. He make his honorable mention, and here's the thing: as movies, it is based on a book.
One book.
Book is so much better.
Not 3 books. One book.
Hobbit could have been
Better.
done in a lot better, and could have been done in 2 movies, except for 3. But the studio wanted to make money.
Maybe even in 1 3-hour movie. So, which
I would rather watch a 2-hour movie than 1 3-hour movie.
I'm talking about 3
Especially
or 3
when
and a
you-
half even. Listen.
Especially when you throw in some extended version. But you know, with Hobbit, you don't need an extended version just because it is extended already. There's stuff in it that wasn't in the book. But even that beside the point, it's still a good movie. Peter Jackson comes back to Middle Earth, and he
And the whole
takes
thing
on.
with Peter Jackson actually coming back, he wasn't even supposed to come back. Studio decided last minute that they were gonna switch directors because Neil Blomkamp didn't fulfill their criteria of what a good filmmaker should
And
be
by the
earning.
time
and
Peter Jackson come
came
back, they were already supposed to start shooting. He
Yeah.
couldn't change, so basically he was working off a finished script. And that really ties your hands as a director. I think if Peter Jackson was involved from the get-go,
It
I
would have
think
been
he would
better.
have been better version. We would have
And listen,
a better
for me
movie.
not to put, for me to put Hobbit as an honorable mention, to me Hobbit was always better than Lord of the Rings, and I'm talking about the books here, because I read those years ago, and to me, I always like going back to Hobbit. because
I reread them recently, and they're still great
And
books.
the
man.
fun
Yeah.
fact, and the fun part about the books is they had songs, and I was wondering if they were gonna put the songs into the movie. And when dude, the dwarf song in the kitchen is absolutely bonkers, and that whole scene is absolutely epic and amazing. And I loved singing to it, even though they were singing in English. I was singing in Croatian because I read Croatian translations of the book.
Movies
but
are
I
good.
found my way. Like I mean, I could switch back and
They're
forth.
not
so-
Lord of the Rings good, but they are good as far as trilogies go. If somebody comes up to me and say, "Hey, you want to watch Hobbit?" I'm like, you know what? I'm down for it.
And
I can see
epic?
spending
How much more
7-8
yeah.
hours or whatever it was watching Hobbit. I don't care. They're good movies. If you're gonna binge them, they're good. They're shorter version than the Lord of the Rings, but they're still good movies.
And how much more epic would it have been if we got Hobbit movies first and then we got Lord of the Rings? I mean, just imagine, like, the surprise of Gollum appearing in Lord of the Rings after you read just that one small portion in The Hobbit. Like, that scene with Gollum is one of the best scenes in the movie, and they pretty much stuck to the letter from the book. They pretty much took it out of the book, letter by word for word.
They added stuff from the book, but at the same time, they stuck to the book.
Definitely. So,
Stuff that's in the book is in the movie.
To me, when they
but
announced Lord of the Rings movies, I was wondering, why not Hobbit first? I mean, it would only make sense.
And at the end of the day, we actually got a long version of Hobbit and short versions of the Lord of the Rings. And yeah, so if you want to watch them,
and they did a great job with Smaug and just Benedict Cumberbatch actually voicing the character. I think it was pretty cool too, and he had a great voice.
We got to see Luke Evans as the leader of men, if you would.
Yeah.
Kill the Dragon. You know, it's a good movie. It's a fun movie.
And even the dwarf brother coming. I mean, when they come on those goats, man.
Yeah.
I mean, rams.
The fight scenes at the end with the
listen, the five armies definitely dragged on a little bit too long. And most people didn't appreciate the elven and dwarven love story. To me, it was sweet and cool, so I liked it.
It's another thing that wasn't in the book, but I liked it. But at the end, you know, I mean, Legolas wasn't in the book, but he still fit into the movie.
Yeah. He was visiting his cousin.
Yeah. Just happened to be there.
Yeah, why not?
So, they're good movies. There's a reason why it's number 4, number 5.
Because we already had Gandalf, and I mean, just the whole... Yeah. I mean, the dwarves coming in, like, they stuck to the books so good, and that whole scene was hilarious and funny and ridiculous as it's supposed to be.
Yeah. So coming in at my number 4, your number 3, we're talking about Toy Story.
Yeah.
And just one of those movies, man.
I mean...
one of the most emotional cartoons.
Listen, if you're a kid and you see toys come to life, it's basically a dream come true. And seeing it in 3D animation...
and seeing it so well done. With such a fantastic cast.
Dude, seriously, like the voice over.
I mean, starting with Tom Hanks and Tim Allen and moving on to everybody else on the list. You lived there, man. You were Andy in that room. You were there with the toys. And then, you know, you had the first one and the end scene with the rocket.
Dude, and just the score that basically went on to second and third movie too. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. Anyways, let's not get copyrighted.
Don't sing. And then to see the second one.
Are you saying I can't sing as good as Randy Newman?
Yes.
That's impossible.
No. But, you know, it's...
and just the story of friendship and just seeing that movie.
And then the second one, it's like, okay, they're doing the second one. What are they going to do with the second one? And then to see the whole story of Woody, the cowboy.
Yeah, his background story.
His background story, and then to meet the rest of the friends, and then the toys who go
and
to rescue them. And it's like, you know, again, the end scene where they're trying to get away.
Yeah, but it brought, like in the first movie, they really concentrated on the friendship between Woody and Buzz. In the second movie, they concentrated more on expiry date of toys. Because toys don't last forever.
Yeah, but at the same time, they did keep the friendship.
Oh, definitely.
With Buzz not even hesitating.
Definitely.
He's just, we're gonna go and get Woody back.
It was still there. That's why they went to rescue them. And I mean, Wayne Knight voicing the villain, basically in this story, was also cool. Hearing and seeing, they did him justice even with the animation.
For a bug.
and just the fact that we got some really new, cool new characters as well. We got Bullseye and Jesse and even Pete. Stinky Pete.
No matter how stinky he actually was.
Yeah.
And then the third one.
Dude, when you think that
emotional roller coaster, like
dude,
how,
I think we're actually doing a disservice to us. I think Toy Story should have been first because all these three movies are like we get three perfect movies actually. So,
listen, our top three lists, our top three movies on the list.
I think we did a disservice to us, man.
They could have been flipped either which way. Or at least two of these. Top three could have been flipped either which way because you're looking at complete masterpieces. Three movies that stand out from start to finish.
Yeah.
Toy Story could have easily been the first.
Should have been, I think. Now that we're talking about it, I think it should have been the first.
But you know,
whatever.
Toy Story, man.
It's
and we're getting a
yeah, so yeah, we realized that it may not be a franchise come next year or 2 years.
Yeah, it's gonna be a franchise,
it's gonna be a franchise,
trilogy,
not a trilogy. But you know, that's why we're doing
right
this
now.
now.
It's a trilogy, so
yeah, eat it. Anyways, coming in at your number 3.
Star Wars, the original trilogy, not the blunder that most people what most people consider to be a blunder of the prequels that I actually enjoy. I think he somewhat enjoys it. I don't know. I probably enjoyed it.
I see good. I can find good points.
I probably enjoyed them a lot more than he did. But the original trilogy, we're talking about episode 4 to episode 6.
Yeah, New Hope.
Listen, whenever you do something, especially sci-fi.
Let's talk about it later on because it is higher on my list.
Alright.
Yeah.
Let's talk about number 2 at your list.
Yeah, because it's number 9 on yours. Back to the Future.
I almost didn't put it there.
Yeah, dude, don't even start, man. Back to the Future is this thing that we watched as kids on TV, and it's hard to. I mean,
here's the thing: when you're a kid,
it was hard to see that it wasn't an '80s movie. Like
when you're a kid watching this, it's not Marty that stands out. It's not even the time traveling car that stands out. It's Doc Brown.
To me, it was the combination of all three.
Yeah,
like,
it was
you
a combination
can't have one
of all
without
three.
the other. So.
No, definitely. But when I was a kid watching this, Doc Brown was the one who stood out to me. He was the crazy scientist.
Yeah, listen.
Who actually made the whole thing happen.
Marty McFly was still in high school. I was in elementary school. So to me, I always identified as Marty, man.
I always loved
Doc. He's a school kid. He was a cool... Well, he wasn't a cool kid. But not because he wasn't cool. He was a cool character, okay?
Oh, no, definitely.
But, yeah, and... and Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown, man.
Go, Johnny, go.
How much more crazy can you ask for in the Mad Scientist?
Johnny, go.
And DeLorean was, I think that was the first time we saw DeLorean.
Every person, every guy who saw that movie still wants to drive a DeLorean.
Yeah, me too. Even though I don't want to get behind the wheel of a car at all.
I want to drive a DeLorean. I drive an Opel Corsa. Give me a DeLorean, I'm in for it, man. Even with the... just having 2 front seats, I don't care, man.
Yeah, but and the score by Andy Silver, is it Silver? Yeah, Silverman.
That was out of my league, man. You're the one keeping the score of scores and stuff.
Dude, because the score, you can have a movie without a good score. A good score is pretty much a character in itself.
We talked about Superman score in another movie. We talked about Indiana Jones score.
Spider-Man, Dark Knight, man. Well,
same things can be said of Back to the Future. When you hear Back to the Future, you know it's Back to the Future. Nobody has to tell you that's Back to the Future score.
You know it's Back to the Future.
That's how good it is.
You know that where you're going, you don't need roads.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and you know that Twin Pines become Lone Pines.
Yep. Definitely true. Definitely true. Coming in at number 2 on your side.
Is your 4?
Yeah.
Dark Knight trilogy. We talked about it. We reviewed it.
We talked about this extensively in our review of the Dark Knight trilogy. So we'll put a link somewhere, or you can look it up.
It's probably posted up at this point.
Yeah,
I don't know what our schedule's like because all this stuff is pre-recorded. listen, movie from 1 to 3, everything ties in together. It's a complete masterpiece. I know people don't like the third one. I know people don't like the first one. They think they're not.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at a trilogy, as a trilogy, the whole thing fits together. It's like one giant puzzle piece.
Yeah, if we're gonna go with Toy Story as number 1, this would definitely have to be at number 2 as far as the whole
It's
thing
really that
goes.
good. I have no gripes with it whatsoever. Like we said, we did a extensive review of it. You can go and watch it.
We'll put the
So
link
we're not
after this
gonna
video.
we're not gonna stick around here
It'll
for
be
long.
somewhere either here or
Like
here.
here or somewhere. But your number 1 is Star Wars.
Yeah, the original trilogy. That's episodes 4 through 6. A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. And of course, when we're talking about this trilogy, we have to talk about George Lucas's reinvented take, the special editions versions, because the original trilogy doesn't really exist anymore unless you have it somewhere on your VHS or something, which we don't. But because he was never satisfied with his original trilogy, he was
always tinkering with it.
Yeah, always tinkering.
There was always some
Sometimes
changes. It was
for the
small changes, you know, who shot first kind, but
some for the better, some for not so better.
and let's just say, when it comes to prequels and remastered original edition, it was really nice seeing Hayden Christensen's character come back as a ghost.
Ghost, yeah.
Force Ghost back in the Return of, at the end of the Return of the Jedi.
To me, I don't know why, but Empire Strikes Back. I'm not gonna. I mean, it's the one that I like the least, but it is the one that is most respected. But to me, A New Hope will always be the best Star Wars movie ever. Although now that we've seen Rogue One multiple times,
Man, Rogue One's good.
dude, it elevates the whole franchise to another level. So
to have that movie go before the
A New
trilogy.
Hope, yeah, definitely. So to me, the character of Luke Skywalker will always be iconic, always be one of my favorite characters. And then you throw in Han Solo, Chewbacca, and Princess Leia, and then Lando Calrissian. I mean,
R2D2, and even C-3PO.
Sometimes, but
he can be annoying.
And Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine. Seriously, come on, Darth
Vader is probably one of. I mean,
listen.
When you talk about villains,
yeah,
Darth Vader is there.
Yeah,
you can't not mention Darth Vader.
Right
and again,
there.
even he got rejuvenated, if you would, in the Rogue One.
Yeah,
bro, you saw, if you would pick Darth Vader, why everybody, and I mean everybody was scared shitless.
Yeah, pretty
whenever
much.
Darth Vader's name was mentioned.
And I mean, we can talk about John Williams' score about this movie over and over again. I mean, it just doesn't get better than Star Wars. Seriously.
You know it's Star Wars, man.
Yeah.
You hear it. There's so many renditions have been done with that music.
Even in the animated series, Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, like they only have one small, like they have their own score, but they also have a small snippet. It just goes da-na-na-na-na. And that's it. And you know it's like even if you weren't looking at the screen and you just heard that sound, you know Star Wars is either starting or ending. So, yeah. And what else?
It will always be one of the most memorable and recognizable trilogies.
To me, you can watch number 4 and number 6 pretty much as their own movies, whereas number 5, Empire Strikes Back, you can't watch without number 4.
No.
And number 5 to me is the weakest of the trilogy, simply because the whole thing with the rebellion and the thing with Luke's lightsaber and the whole thing with I am your... Like, okay, I am your father, pretty cool, but I think that... I don't know, it just... To me it's weak. It's just weak. I like my Ewoks, I like my, you know, Moon of Endor.
Listen, he may be your father, but he'll never be your dad.
And listen, one thing that improved from... Like people say that Empire Strikes Back was an improvement on A New Hope. To me, what improved the most in all 3 of these movies is the fighting scenes with lightsaber fights. Like in number 4, they were just doing this. In number 5, they were already fighting. Like there was choreography there. In number 6, it was already like I mean, it was really, really good. So, like that fight scene, only thing that rivals the fight scene in the number 6 is Phantom Menace fight with Darth Maul.
Yeah, but at that point, stuff has, I mean, that's a lot of years later, and you see how much
Technology
improved,
yeah,
and how better actually. And that was, at that point, there were actually talks of reshooting 4, 5, and 6 with modern technology to give them the modern look.
Listen,
but,
we'll get remakes of these movies eventually
I hope
somewhere
they
down
don't,
the line.
because I really hope they don't do it, just because you want to keep this.
We may not be alive. We may not be alive, but in about 100 years, someone will say, "Let's
I can't argue with
let's
you on that one.
reboot Star Wars." So, and you can only imagine how much better technology will be, and yeah, actors will be different, but who knows? Maybe we even get to see it someday.
My number 1.
Yeah, your number 1 is my number 8. Lord of the Rings.
To me, it will always be the most epic. If you would listen, we are talking about extended editions. Once you watch extended edition, you cannot watch the theatrical release ever again, just because all of a sudden there's so much stuff missing in them. But as far as the story goes, as far as the trilogy goes, he talked about putting Toy Story on a number 1 but I cannot put Lord of the Rings anywhere except on top, just because it is that good. You want to take a movie by movie, you can watch them as one movie, you can watch them as a trilogy. It's so much more fun watching them as a trilogy.
Definitely. Makes for a hell of a movie marathon, dude.
You're looking at 12 hours of footage. That's like whole day. You just eat popcorn and, watch
take a
Lord
break
of
for
the Rings.
yeah.
But the movies are that good. What Peter Jackson did with them all of a sudden, to bring fantasy in that way on screen, that was a new thing, and everybody fell in love with it.
For a good reason. For good reason.
For a good reason. And the movies
speak for themselves. They're all nominated for Best Picture. They all won multiple Oscars.
For a reason, because really they are that good, and I think in a way they also reinvented what people do with movies. They brought so much stuff for the first time on screen, and now you're like, okay, we can actually do this stuff.
And back in the 80s and 90s, when we were getting fantasy movies, they could never really make a good fantasy movies, and then we got Lord of the Rings, which basically set the standard for fantasy movies. And nowadays, like, we can't really get a good fantasy movie again, simply because they all get compared to Lord of the Rings.
And they never stack up, because Lord of the Rings is that highly valued.
Yeah.
But it's not just its high value from the common folk, if you would, but it's actually the fact that everything that you say about Lord of the Rings is true.
Yeah.
It is a good movie, it's a great story. The visual effects, the soundtrack, the score is amazing. The story is like, I know it by heart because I watched it so many times. I go through emotion of, there's certain movies that I rewatch every year. This is one of those. So I rewatch this trilogy, if you would, every year, and every year.
Usually as a family around Christmas time when we all have time.
But I also do it by myself, because I like watching movies by myself. But in just a moment, but the movies stack up. Like, I watch them every year, and they're still good. They still grip me. I'm like, I can't not look away from the screen.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's our list of top 10. We're being
trilogies.
Yeah, and we're kept being interrupted. While this is our top 10 list of trilogies, it is our opinion, and at the same time, there's a ton of movies right now. They are a duology. They are gonna become trilogies really soon.
Yeah.
We're looking at John Wick 3. We're looking at
Cars.
We're looking at Guardians of the Galaxy. They're gonna get a third one, and that stuff's probably, I'm not sure about Cars, but Guardians of the Galaxy, John Wick, those will probably knock somebody off.
We may definitely do.
We might do this in a couple of years
again, but until
when we get a couple of more number 3s. But this is our list, our point of view, our opinion, if you would. You can disagree with it. We kind of expect you to disagree with it because you disagree with everything.
If you made it this far into the video, let us know. Like,
Yeah.
subscribe, and share.
Leave a comment, you know, let us know what
Yeah.
you think. What's your favorite trilogy? We'd like to know.
Yeah.
So that's it from us. We'll be back next
Next
week
week.
with another video. So yeah, take care and beş buza.